So, I've recently gotten back into playing Pokemon, and in doing so, I realized I've never beaten either Pokemon Scarlet or Pokemon Violet. So, I decided instead of just doing a normal playthrough, I would try out my first ever Pokemon Nuzlocke in Pokemon Scarlet. And for a quick summary of those who don't know what a Nuzlocke is, it's basically just a set of self imposed rules that you use during your playthrough. The rules I'll be using are the following: I must beat all storylines: the gyms, the star bases, and the titans. My Pokemon cannot pass the max level of the gym, or the star bases, or the titans. At first, I wasn't going to allow myself any items, but then during the playthrough, I realized I will allow myself one item during battle. Held items are completely allowed and have no limit. I also must play on set mode, but because Pokemon Scarlet doesn't have the option to change to set mode, I just won't swap my Pokemon. I must catch the first Pokemon on every route. That's not really possible because, overworld spawns and you'll get the same Pokemon every time. So I made a bunch of wheels for every area that I'll spin to catch my Pokemon for that said area. You'll see more when I play the game. I must nickname every Pokemon. I am not too creative, but I did my best in making some of the nicknames. Also, if a Pokemon faints at all during the playthrough, it's considered dead. But I'm not actually going to release it like some people do. I will just box it forever because I like to keep like a living dex of all the Pokemon when I first play a game. And finally, if I white out at a gym, it means I restart the gym. This also counts for star bases and Titan. If you don't know what a whiteout is, it's basically when all your Pokemon just faint. With that said, before I can actually get into the challenge, I have to beat the quote unquote intro to the game. Basically, it's just getting through the first part of the game and into the academy and unlocking all of the quests on the map. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, I'll be choosing Sprigatito as my starter for this playthrough. Yeah, Sprigatito. Sprigatito. Gatito. Our name is Tito. Alrighty, I've done some things. I've got things going. Here we go. First of all, I figured out how to use the camera mode. Secondly, I was saying at the beginning, I had an exception to like my Nuzlocke rules, and it's just because I want to be able to use this shiny Oricorio that I got. Hi, buddy. Okay, bye, buddy. Okay, well, I got this shiny Oricorio in Violet. We'll be using this only for the bug gym. That's it. So in case no one believes me that I got this shiny Oricorio, I will put the footage up. Let's spin the wheel. This is for South Province Area 1. So, let's go back into Pokemon. We're going to be getting Azurill. Who's Azurill? You are. Haha. Let's go! After catching the Azurill, I decided to name it Azzy. So I'm guessing I forgot to record it, but I did get a second encounter. It was in the area just before the first gym, and it was a tarantula. Now, with both my catches done, it was time to move on to the first gym. The bug gym! But before I took on the gym though, I wanted to try a strategy with the Oricorio, where I taught it rest, and I gave it a Chesto Berry so it could wake itself up. I only wanted to use Oricorio for the first gym, so I wanted a way to heal it while it was the only one in battle. If you remember, I did say I didn't want to use items at first, but you'll see that that changes, later on at least. You stupid olive. I actually hate green olives. Yippee! Alright, gym battle. Nimble! I wish they had dialogue for if you have a shiny. We pack. The gym was fairly easy to beat. It only took 2 pecks to take down the Nimble. It took another 2 packs to take down the Tarantula. At this point, I was worried I wasn't going to get to use my whole rest Chestoberry strategy that I came up with. Fortunately, though, the Teddiursa was a bit stronger, clearly needing more than just 2 packs, and doing just enough damage to get me to use my rest. And now that I'm asleep, it should pop the Chestoberry? Yeah! But even still, just 2 more packs, and I was able to just defeat the Teddiursa, getting me my first gym badge of the challenge. Gym badge, yippee! And I get to eat sweets. Okay. Now, the next level cap should be level 16, and we're going into the next area. So, well, first of all, let's get there, and then we'll do wheel spin. Yeah, hold on. Also, I can put everyone else in the party. Even Tarantula, because I now have level cap of 16. Okay, the next area I'd be going to was South Province Area 2. And in this area, I'd be taking on the Rock Titan and getting my next capture. If you're curious what the Rock Titan is, it's basically a giant cloth. Beak crab. But before we get into that mess, first I gotta get my next capture. Wheel. Swablu, okay. Now I did say I would be getting the next capture, but actually I may have beaten the Titan first and then gotten the capture. So, Titan battle first, woo! Hello, Beak Crab. Say hello to Magical Leaf. Say hello to Magical Leaf again. I should get a full heal when the one guy comes in, so I should be fine. Ooh, does that kill? Will that kill my Tito? No. If it crits, I still don't think it kills. With the vice grip comes my first death of the playthrough. My poor Sprigatito. It just had to be my fucking starter as my first death. I'm just so good at Pokemon. I'm the best, honestly. It's okay though. Cotton came in and finished off the first phase with just a bug bite. Well, I lost Tito. Tito, you will be missed. Can you tell that it's my first time doing a Nuzlocke? No way, behind that suspicious rock was a cave! Basically, when that cloth ate that like colorful looking herb that I got from the rock, it gained itself like a power-up. It made it a lot stronger now on the second phase. Thankfully, Arven does come in on the second phases of all the Titans, and he'll help you defeat them. Cotton was able to do a bit of damage with Arven's Shelter, but unfortunately the cloth did get them pretty low. And I had to swap into my Azzy. But with a few more attacks from the Azzy and Arven's Shelter, we were able to defeat the Rock Titan. I didn't lose another at least. I made a mistake. Oh, poor Tito. One good thing to come of this, though, was that Azzy did evolve from an Azurill into a Meryl. As he's evolving, Meryl, look at that chunky boy. Anyways, after the battle is over, we head into the cave. And in the cave is the very thing Arvin was looking for. The sweet herba mystica. With this herb, he decides to make some sandwiches. And to also give me my first Titan badge of the playthrough. Screenshot. The sandwiches also seem to attract out my Caridon, and after feeding it to him, it unlocks a new ability for Caridon. Sharing is caring, guys. Sharing is caring. Basically, he can sprint now. I finally have a better movement option to, get around the map. Nice. Oh my, that feels great. As I said before, right after the Titan, I went on the hunt for a Swablu. It took a while, but eventually I ended up finding one. Here we go. We caught it! Swablu, newest member of the party! And then I decided on the name Cloudy. So the newest member of our party is Cloudy the Swablu. Now that I have my next encounter done, it was time for the next gym. The Grass Gym! This gym was definitely where I realized this Nuzlocke was going to be way harder than I thought it'd be. Because the level cap was level 17 though, my level 19 Cloudy wasn't going to be allowed to participate. There we go. Oh my god. The 5 FPS. Sunflora. Alright, gym time. It was time for the gym. I decided I was going to use Cotton to try to solo the gym since it was a bug type, and it's super effective against grass types. But unfortunately, the grass gym had other plans for me. Cotton was able to take down Brassius's Petalil with just a couple hits. And even take out the small live in the process. But not without taking a good chunk of damage as well. And because of all the damage Cotton took, Brassius's Sudowoodo had no trouble taking it out. And unfortunately, Azzy was nowhere near strong enough to defeat the Sudowoodo, therefore causing my first whiteout of the playthrough. Well, with my first whiteout, surely I came back with a better strategy to beat the gym, right? Yeah, no. In fact, I proceeded to white out an additional 5 times. So how exactly did I beat the gym? Well, by cheating, obviously. I decided I needed to bring in Cloudy in order to beat the gym. Cloudy was able to get a peck off on the Petalil just before it put Cloudy to sleep. But after tanking a few Mega Drains, Cloudy was able to wake up and take down the Petalil with just 2 more pecks. Then came Smoliv. Thankfully, the Smoliv only needed another 3 more packs to be taken down. It did do a little bit of damage to Cloudy, but it was okay. Now came the Sudowoodo. But this time, I had a strategy for it. I swapped in Azzy to use Charm on Sudowoodo, lowering its attack to -4 because I used it twice. Just before Azzy fainted, I gave Cloudy a potion just in case I needed to swap. I then actually swapped into Cotton, who got off a Quick Claw Pounce first turn in, and used another Pounce, putting the Sudowoodo at -2 in speed. I was able to Quick Claw yet again into a Terrestrialized Bug Bite.
Please.
Come on. Come on. You also Quick Clawed. Come on, Tarantula. Leaving the Sudowoodo just one hit from death. Unfortunately, Cotton does faint. But Cloudy is able to come in for the final hit, finally giving me the win and gaining me my second gym badge of the challenge. I did it! Yeah! I only had to lose like 2 of my Pokemon. And cheat a little bit with my rules. With that done, it was time to move on to the next goal in the challenge, the Flying Titan. But just before that, we have to get some new party members. What will we get? Who will we catch? I was kind of excited about Sandygast. Rookidee it is. Hey, here we go. Here's another Rookidee. Are you also level like 22 or something? You're level 18! Yes! Just use the Ultra Balls that I have. Why not? Let's call you Dee. Alright. Okay. We will do Starly. You know, I know this is like a huge, like, break of the Nuzlocke, but it's my playthrough. Deal with it. Oh, Starly's. Shiny? No. Regular. Starly! Welcome to the team, buddy. Well, I already put you on the screen, but hey, still. Welcome to the team, Starly. Hell yeah. We'll call you Lee. Very creative name. West Area 1. Who do we got? Who are we getting? Let's see. Gumshoes. Alrighty. No, go away, Sableye. I found what I'm looking for. No, the gumshoes! No! You bastard! Yes! Gumshoe is caught. I think I'm gonna call you Boomy. 2 eyes. Just to be special. Just to be extra. With my new party members, it was finally time for the Flying Titan. Oh my god. Wow, that's a lot of rocks. Now, what is the Flying Titan? Well, it's a giant bombardier. I think that's how you pronounce it. Bombardier, something like that. Anyways, surprisingly, this one was not that bad of a fight. It was way easier compared to what I just did with the grass gym. I did manage to completely white out on my first try, but the second try was way more successful. I did almost forget, I evolved Lee into a Staravia and Dee into a Corvisquare just before the second attempt, and it was a very good idea that I did this. Okay, Staravia goes out, intimidates, drops the attack, and then we growl to drop the attack again. Okay, perfect. We're gonna swap into... I think just go straight into Gumi. Hopefully I can work up twice. That's the plan. Okay, we're gonna hit the potion now. And we'll Terrestrialize Tackle next turn. Please. Oh. Oh my god. It did not kill it. Okay, that was a bad choice. Oh, no, we're good. Yeah. Because it's gonna break the thing, get the Herba Mystica. And now it's time for phase 2. Since I didn't want to risk losing any of my Pokemon, I just had Dee Dee use Hone Claw a couple times to boost her attack. Fortunately and unfortunately, it was kinda a waste, since Arven's Knackley kind of just carried with its super effective rock-type moves. No way! Okay, I whited out the first time, but the second time? Some might say I'm the GOAT. But with all that done, I got my second Titan badge of the playthrough. Screenshot. And if you're wondering what ability Koraidon unlocked this time, it was the ability to swim on water. I can go across water. Okay, next up, Starfall Base. This guy is not a student. That is a grown man. Now, it was time for my first starbase of the challenge. Cassiopeia. It's like the TFT character. No way. As we were getting to the starbase, though, I ran into someone who was clearly just the school director in a quote-unquote disguise. I thought this was just a little silly, so I wanted to mention it. But back to the starbases. Basically, the way these work is you defeat 30 Pokemon with the Let's Go feature inside the base. And once that's done, then you're able to take on the boss, quote-unquote, of the base. And for this base, it was the Dark Star base. Nice. Let's get the boss. I really thought this battle would have been easy. You know, just like the Flying Titan was. But sadly, it was in fact not that easy. Now, it may have only been like 3 whiteouts instead of the 1 that I had in the Flying Titan, but I did reset my game a couple times because I was upset with the RNG on some of the moves that was happening. This being my first starbase, and it being this hard, did kind of make me fearful for future bases. Anyways, here's how I beat it. Gumi was able to get in 3 workups just before needing a potion. With that, she was able to take down the Poniard with 1 hit with Fire Fang. Unfortunately, she was too low to take on the River Room, so I decided I'd swap in Lee. I did hit a Quick Claw Endeavor with my Lee, which I very much didn't want to do. If you know how Endeavor works, you'll understand. Thankfully, next turn, Lee was able to get off a growl, lowering the Rev Room's attack. I then swapped into Dee Dee to use Leer in order to lower its defense next. Thankfully, she did manage to live with 1 HP, letting me get off another Leer, and a free swap from her dad. I swapped back into Gumi and used a Terrestrialized Tackle on the Starmobile. I got a very lucky miss from the River Room, and with that miss, it allowed me to get another tackle in. Also with that miss, Yuumi was able to survive just one hit from death the next turn. And because of that, I was able to defeat the River Room and get my first Starbase badge of the challenge. Yes! Dee, your sacrifice will not be in vain. It was not. The double Leer. That's what I needed. Was Leer. Screenshot. I'm not gonna lie, the Academy didn't teach me this. The Academy didn't teach me shit. It's the like 7 failed attempts I had on this. I don't know how many it was. I'm not counting it, and I'm not gonna put it in editing. On to the next place. My next level cap is 24. It's Eevee Girl. But first, I gotta get a new party member. Time to roll the wheel. Who do we get? Komala. Okay. Komala it is. Oh, is that a Komala? It is a Komala. Haha. Let's just start throwing some balls at it. Easy. Also, I know what I'm naming this. It just makes sense. Can I fit the full name? Okay, we'll just do Kamala. I wanted to do Kamala hair as well. We'll just do Kamala. It makes sense. Come on, it's basically the same thing. All right. Kamala has been got. Whoops. I meant to say I got 2 party members. What will we get? Oh, Murkrow. As if I didn't already have enough flying types. Oh, there we go, Murkrow. Good job, Murkrow. Oh, just call you Crumb. But, you know, use the Merc from your name to make Crumb name it. Yeah, your name's Crumb. Okay. Now it's time for the next gym. On the way, though, I did run into the Fire Star base, which does block the path. Thankfully, you can just jump off the cliff to the gym. And with that little random small distraction out of the way, now it's time to take on the Electric Gym. Is what I would have said if Nemona didn't just decide to take me on beforehand. Wait. Fuck. Do I have to fight Nemona and I wasn't paying attention? No! No! You can't make me! Oh, my team's layout was set up for the gym, not Nemona. Dude, if I lose a Pokemon to you, I'm fucked. Now, with no more distractions, it was gym time. Obviously, I gotta take on the gym challenge before I fight the leader, but it wasn't all that hard. Basically, it's like playing Where's Waldo, but instead you're tasked to find Director Clavel in the surrounding crowds. After finding Director Clavel for a total of 3 times, it was then time to move on to the actual gym battle against the leader, Iono. The first attempt was going fairly good at the start. I was able to take down Iono's Watch Roll, Belly Bolt, and Luxio all with Kamala using Rollout. If you by chance don't know how Rollout works, well, a brief explanation would be basically, with every use of Rollout, the move keeps getting stronger. Unfortunately, just before Miss Magius came out, Kamala stopped using Rollout, meaning it didn't have the same power as it did against Luxio. And even more unfortunately, Kamala was way too weak to even keep in. Now, fortunately, I did have a ground move on Gumi, which is super effective against electric types. But to make things worse, Iono's Miss Magius has the ability Levitate, making it immune to all ground type moves. And just to top it all off, it also uses Charge Beam, which has a chance to increase the user's special attack by 1, basically making it do more damage. It's only a 70% chance, which means it's not guaranteed, but it felt like this Miss Magius had a guaranteed chance on that stat boost because it got it almost every time it used it. And the special attack. Okay, I lost. I lose here. That's one shot, right? Yep. I can't win against a +3 special attack, Miss Magius. Four times, dude. Four times. And with that, I stood no chance at winning against a +5 special attack, Miss Magius. Especially since a good portion of my team were flying types. And because of it, it caused me to completely just white out against her. Time to try again, I guess. The second attempt went way better. First turn, Kamala uses Yawn on Wattrel, which causes opponent's Pokemon to fall asleep after the next turn. With that, I swapped into Gumi, who did take a Spark, but thankfully, Wattrel went to sleep right after. With Wattrel asleep, I was able to get in 3 free workups without taking any damage. Although on the turn I Terrastalize, Wattrel does end up waking up, and it does end up getting in another Spark, just before Gumi was able to take it down with a +3 Fire Fang. Next came Bellybolt, who was able to get in a crit hit Spark, just before going down to a super effective Stomping Tantrum. Now, Iona's Luxio comes in, and it has the ability Intimidate, which does lower my attack by 1. But on this first turn, I decide just to heal up. I did manage to take down the Luxio with a super effective Stomping Tantrum, but before that, I did end up taking 2 Sparks, and one of them does end up paralyzing Gumi. Now it was time for the Miss Magius once again. But this time, I remembered something. I can use Tackle against this specific Miss Magius. Now, I still could have lost it all here, but thankfully the Miss Magius used Confuse Ring, meaning I didn't take any damage, and I was able to get in a boosted Terrastalized Tackle, leaving her at just 1 HP. Now Gumi definitely did not have the HP to live, so I had to take a gamble. I swapped in Lee, my Staravia, hoping it would live an attack and that I could use a quick attack to guarantee the last hit that I needed. And not only did Lee live with 1 HP, he also landed a Quick Claw on the quick attack, which granted doesn't do anything, but it is funny nonetheless. But now, with the Miss Magius finally defeated, I gained my next gym badge of the Nuzlocke. Now next, we're doing the Fire Team Starbase? Yes. And I've already caught up the Pokemon in can, so I just go over there first. Okay. Now, we know how a Starbase works. You beat 30 Pokemon using the Let's Go feature, and then you challenge the quote-unquote boss. Only difference really being the typing of the Pokemon. And again, this is the Fire Starbase, so the Pokemon will be Fire types. Now, nothing crazy really happened during this Starbase. Not that I can remember, at least. I obviously was a bit overconfident from the previous battle, as I did try using a couple workups against a Torkoal who knew Clear Smog. If you don't know what that does, well, it basically just nullifies all stat changes that occur. Meaning, I was just wasting my time as I was doing it. And it did take me a little while to figure that out for some reason. Clearly, since I'm the best Nuzlocke around, I obviously only whited out one time. Just like the electric gym. I'm actually very proud of this. So anyways, how did I beat it? Simple. First turn, Kamala comes in and uses Yawn on the Torkoal. But the bad part was that Torkoal does have the ability Drought, which sets up the sun and causes fire-type attacks to do increased damage. But with Torkoal falling asleep after the next turn, I throw in Cloudy, who does tank a boosted Flame Wheel. I brought in Cloudy for one reason, because she knew the move Rain Dance, which sets up the rain, getting rid of the sun and actually lowering the power of all fire-type moves. Now I swapped back into Kamala to maybe start boosting stats, but unfortunately, the Torkoal actually woke up pretty much immediately, and I was very much not happy about that. You woke up second turn? Fuck you! I did manage to get it asleep again, and with that I used Rollout, hoping to accumulate enough damage on Torkoal that I could do a bunch of damage at once to the Starmobile after the Torkoal fainted. But the game had other plans. You motherfucker! I'm gonna fucking lose it! Thankfully though, I was able to send in Crumb and take down the Torkoal with a wing attack. I did swap in Lee, hoping to get in and intimidate and maybe use an Endeavor after tanking a huge hit. Sadly, Endeavor doesn't work that way on boss Pokemon, I think. At least not that I saw of my entire playthrough. But I did end up losing Lee, which is a very heartbreaking moment, as I have already lost 2 Pokemon so far. After losing Lee though, I swapped back into Cloudy, hoping I can get in a Rain Dance. And I got really lucky with a miss from the Starmobile. Unfortunately, Cloudy does fall to the Starmobile just after getting in a Rain Dance. But now, in comes Gumi to perform another miracle, I guess. She's able to get in 2 workups and nearly kills the Starmobile with a boosted super effective Stomping Tantrum. Thankfully, the Starmobile did not outspeed, and I was able to get in just one more Stomping Tantrum, taking down the Star Base. And with that, I got my second Starbase badge of my Nuzlocke. Okay, well, before we move on to the next challenge, I have a Pokemon I need to catch. Hysteria 3. Who will I get? Ghastly, yippee! Did I find a fucking Ghastly? Jesus. Yippee, I caught the Ghastly, finally! Alright, what do I name him? I actually asked my girlfriend to name the Ghastly, and this is what she came up with.
Call it Taco Bell.
Taco Bell?
Cause Cassie.
And so, Taco Bell the Ghastly has joined the party. Then I decided I needed to evolve it into a Haunter, so I grinded up some XP and then evolved it. And then after that, I decided I wanted Gengar. So I transferred it to Legends Arceus, gave it a linking cable, and now we have Taco Bell the Gengar. Alrighty, with our newest member Taco Bell, now it's time for the next Titan. The Steel Titan. What is bro doing? Um, um, um. Also, something kind of weird happened during this battle. I'll explain it when I get there. Now, I was able to put the giant Orthworm to sleep first turn in. I did this with the idea I could use Perish Song on the Titan and take it down very easily. But it failed. Failed! And even worse, Orthworm woke up and did a good amount of damage to Gengar with an Iron Tail, even lowering its defense. Now, I tried going for it for another Hypnosis to maybe try again, but the Pokemon gods said no, and
What?
I had immediately lost Gengar.
Oh, well.
Gumi does come in after taking basically no damage from a headbutt and is able to get in a workup. I tried going for a Super Fang to get in a lot of damage, but got unlucky with a flinch from another headbutt. I go for it again, but this time landing it. I then wanted to go for a Fire Fang, hoping it'd do enough with the workup boost. Thankfully, the Orthworm did miss an Iron Tail, which did allow me to finish the job with the Fire Fang. At least to let me finish phase 1. After chasing it around for a bit, it was time for phase 2. It didn't go too well. Arvin's Toadstool gets basically obliterated first turn in. It's gonna taste great, but my Toadstool gets fucking obliterated. Now, I do manage to get in a workup and heal Gumi, while the Orthworm does set up a Sandstorm. I do try to go for a Super Fang, but it was not as effective as before. And because of that, I do try to go for yet another one to lower its health as much as possible. I did manage to get the Titan down to one hit from a Fire Fang. Unfortunately, Gumi was far too low. And I think the Sandstorm stopped me from swapping out my team, or I think Orthworm had Arena Trap, I do not remember. And because of that, Gumi does end up fainting. Now, Crumb is able to come in, but they were not able to do any significant damage to the Orthworm, ultimately leading me to a whiteout. Well, $1,000. And this is partially where the strange thing occurs. When you get a Titan into phase 2, it stays in phase 2. Meaning, I didn't have to rebattle the first phase. And I had my entire team ready again. So with that, I had Taco Bell go in first turn and use Thunder Wave. Thunder Wave has the ability to slow down the opponent's speed and also make them miss or lose a turn. This does prove to be the right choice to make that I made, because immediately after Toadstool gets off a Grass Knot on the Orthworm, it loses a turn from paralysis, meaning it does nothing and just tanks all the damage. Now, as I swap into Gumi, Toadstool does get a Hex off an Orthworm. After another Hex from Toadstool, it puts the Titan in range to be taken down by a super effective Fire Fang, meaning I've defeated my third Titan of the Nuzlocke and gotten my next batch. Okay, I kind of feel like I cheated that one, but you know what? I'm counting it as a win regardless. And I'm keeping all my Pokemon because fuck you. Also, Koraidon gets a new ability. The dog eats a tiny bit. The fucking bike dragon thing eats the entire fucking sandwich. Jump higher. That's it. Oh, that is quite a bit higher. Oh, where are we going to next? We are headed towards the water gym. Oops. This guy. So technically, I do have Taco Bell again, since I did white out. So by a technicality, I didn't lose any Pokemon during that battle. Meaning, I'm the best Nuzlocker ever. Okay, so I'm just a little dumb. I'm literally like in the middle of doing the next gym's challenge when I realized I had another encounter I could do. Oh, wait, whoa. Oh shit, I don't think I have a thing for this. West Province Area 2? Oh no, I don't think I have a wheel for this. Real quick, I gotta do that. I didn't know you went into Area 2. Alright, I guess I did not know we have another spin, so let's do it. Might as well try and get another Pokemon while I'm at it. Deerling, hey! I guess I have to go through the desert as well. I do. Huh. Should I also do the desert then? Do we spin for that? I'm gonna say yes. Gumi is now riding the Deerling. Okay, okay. Let me do my next spin. So I also know what else I'm going for. Oh, that's Cerebi. Whoopsies. Here's the desert. Knackley? Charcadet. Oh, Charcadet. Interesting. Okay, so I totally forgot to record myself catching Deerling. But at least you can see me coming up with the most creative name ever. Obviously, totally. Say hello to John Doe, the Deerling. And yes, it's Doe as in like baby deer. Alright, now time to find Charcadet. Yippee. Finding Charcadet was not as easy as finding Deerling. It took so long, I ended up needing to use a sandwich, which I hadn't done up to this point for any of the catches I've done. All I had to do was make a fucking fire sandwich. Make one fire sandwich, and I get all the Charcadet I could ever want. Jeez. Alright, Charcadet, you are confused and paralyzed. Just get in the ball. You motherfucker! Okay, you're half health, you're paralyzed, and you're confused. If you don't get in the fucking Ultra Ball, I swear to God. Let's go, Charcadet! What do I name Charcadet?
Jorking it.
there's... It is a
What, you don't
male!
like it? What, you don't like it?
It is a male, so you know what?
I'm horrible. I hate when people do this in my games.
No.
But I love doing it to other people in their games.
It's Jorkin it. That's the name of the Pokemon. Also, almost forgot, I did get all the Bronzor fragments in order to get the armor to evolve my Charcadet, so. Anyway, it's time to continue playing the actual game instead of looking for Pokemon. Woo! You motherfucker! Only when it's the enemy do they get the double flinch! Fuck this game! Sorry. If I flinch 3 times in a row, I'm gonna fucking lose it. Jesus. Well, now here's something that hasn't happened in a long while. I didn't even white out once against this gym. Now, I did lose like most of my party, but it was totally worth it. Alrighty, everyone knows the drill by now. Gotta explain how it happened. The battle didn't start out too great. Apparently, the Velusa knew Pluck, which did a lot of damage. And even worse, Deerling did basically nothing with Trailblaze. I went for a baton pass to pass on the +1 speed I gained and keep Deerling alive. Thankfully, when Gumi swapped in, she took very little damage from a slash. Gumi does take a good bit of damage from an Aqua Cutter on the next turn, but I am able to get in a workup. I was basically forced to heal on the next turn. and tank another Aqua Cutter. Gumi takes yet another Aqua Cutter, lowering her health a ton, but she does manage to take down the Velusa with a Thunder Fang. In comes the Woke Trio. I was too scared to lose Gumi, so I swapped in Crumb, who took a headbutt that might have killed Gumi if she did stay in. Woke Trio got in another headbutt, putting Crumb at 5 HP just before he gets in a wing attack, doing a good chunk of damage. In comes Taco Bell, who is immune to headbutt since they're a ghost type. On the next turn, the Woke Trio does basically nothing with a Water Pulse, as Taco Bell goes for a Thunder Wave. Now, with the speed advantage, I'm able to use Hex, which does way more damage when the enemy has a status effect. After Kofu terrestrializes Crabominable, Taco Bell gets off a Thunder Wave. Unfortunately, with the boost, Crabhammer is able to take down Taco Bell. Now Gumi is able to come in and get a good amount of damage with a Thunder Fang, but she also ends up fainting. Next up, Deerling came in, but sadly, he did no damage. It just became yet another death. I was down 3 Pokemon at this point, and I basically almost just gave up. I thought this was just going to be another whiteout. But then, a miracle happened. After Crumb got in a nice Nightshade, Crabominable lost its turn due to paralysis. Since I had the speed advantage, all it took was a wing attack and I secured my victory. And with the victory, I get my next gym badge of the Nuzlocke. 3 of my best. I spent so much time getting Baton Pass. Holy shit, I hate it here. I do get another encounter, so... I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I have to fight a gym with 5 Pokemon, with only 3. I do not think this will be possible. Now, before I started complaining about the next challenge, I did say I have to get a new encounter. So, let's do that. Alright. Spin my wheel. Okay. Applin. Alrighty. This is gonna go awful. A grass type for a poison gym. Hell yeah. What more could I ask for? Now, I had to pull out all reliable and make another sandwich. It's not really all reliable because I just did it, but still, you know. Applin, yippee! Sora! Okay, this one's Applin. There we go. Nice. What apple tree do I want to give him? Applin. You're female. What do we name you? Well, I could just name you what I named my Applin in Sword and Shield when I first played it. There we go. Welcome, Applin, to the team! Tart Apple. Apple Teeny is evolving. Oh. I love Applin. Probably one of my favorites. Well then, I guess it's time to just level my guys up. Do that for a bit. I have to figure out a strategy for this. I don't know what I'm gonna fucking do. Before that, this was when I found out I only needed a Dawnstone to evolve Murkrow into Honchkrow. So, Legends Arceus. I did not know I needed a Duskstone. This whole time I could have had a Honchkrow. Hell yeah. Alright, back to the pasture. Okay, let's get straight into the base. We take down the 30 Pokemon I need to complete the base, and get to fighting the boss. This one was not as easy as the previous battles. To start, I mentioned this before, but I only have 3 Pokemon in my party. And the boss has 5 Pokemon. Now, I did have Jork in it, my Armor Rouge, who was a Psychic type, with Psyshock, which is super effective, but that's all I had. So this one was a tough one. Basically went from 1 to no whiteouts to now 3 whiteouts before I was able to beat the gym. Let's get into how I was able to manage a win. Skuntank gets a good chunk of damage with a Venoshock just before Crumb is able to use Fly. The Skuntank does try to go for another Venoshock, but because I'm in the air, it misses. And the Fly itself does a good amount of damage. On the next turn, Skuntank does exactly what I wanted. It used Toxic, giving me Poison. But Crumb was holding a P.E.K.K.A berry, and it was able to eat the berry and cure itself of the poison, which also allowed me to take no damage because I used Fly on the next turn and avoided another Venoshock. And that Fly was able to also take down the Skuntank. Next up was the Muck. I go for a Sucker Punch knowing Muck was for sure going to go for an attack. Crumb unfortunately does take a good bit of damage from a Sludge Wave, and gets poisoned from it as well, leaving it basically critical. I took a chance on a Night Slash, hoping I'd get a crit. And I got just what I wanted. I got the crit, securing the takedown, and Crumb lived with just 1 HP from the poison. I kept Crumb in, and was able to get a Sucker Punch off on the Reverie for free, basically. And it also allowed me to get a free swap into Jork in it, because Crumb fainted. As I decided to go for a Terrasilize Flame Charge, Jorknet also landed a Quick Claw, meaning I outsped the Reverie, and I just barely didn't get the kill. Thankfully, I took very little damage from the Assurance, because I was no longer technically a Psychic type. All it took was another Flame Charge to take it down, and I got another free speed boost out of it, basically. Hoping I was faster than the Starmobile as well with the both the speed boosts I got. Sadly, I was not, as it gets an obnoxious torque before I was able to hit it. I went for a Fire Spin, which didn't do too much damage, but I was hoping I could get the chip damage. But I don't think it works on Starmobiles or boss Pokemon. I heal up Jork in it and have to tank yet another Noxious Torque. I do manage to get another Quick Claw proc on a Flame Charge, which didn't do a lot, but it gave me another speed boost. Now another Noxious Torque does put me low again. This is the only reason I won. I basically broke my rule and I had to heal up Jorknet again. I used 2 healing items in one battle, but strangely enough, on that turn, Starmobile used Flame Charge, which actually just boosted my Pokemon's fire moves, since they have the Flash Fire ability. Ultimately, I didn't use it, because I wanted to go for a super effective Psyshock, which got in a lot of damage. I got in another one, putting it at just 1 hit from death. Which means with just 1 more, I was able to get the win. And with that, I now have the Poison Star base badge. And I can now move on to the next gym. Sorry, Haunch Crow. Your sacrifice was not in vain, at least. Man, I'm bad at this. Look at how many Pokemon I've lost. 11 Pokemon? Holy. I'm gonna run out. Well, I was in luck because I did have another encounter just before the next gym. West Area 3! It's okay, I can get a Gyarados out of this. I'm okay with Gyarados, honestly. Yeah, Magikarp. Well, that was a shiny Magikarp. I was like, whoa. Any other Magikarps around here? Just this one? Alright. Hi, buddy. I went through the nest ball, right? Yeah, there we go. Or the net ball, not nest. Net. Female Magikarp. We will call you, because I'm very original and creative, Maggie. Yeah, I don't know why Magikarp didn't evolve when I was leveling, but it will also be it. Just give it a rare candy. Well, now we move on to the normal gym. For this gym's challenge, you're supposed to battle other trainers for like each of the secret ingredients for the special order. But I just had the combo pulled up already because I was looking at Cerebi for Pokemon. Aha! You can't just do it. Now, where did all those people go to? Did I just murder a bunch of people? Time to take on everyone's favorite salaryman, Larry. Kamala does go for a yawn and Appletini as I go for a Dragon Dance. Knowing Appletini was going to fall asleep, I still went for a Dragon Dance. The Kamala does get in a good chunk of damage with the slam just before I fell asleep. Thankfully, I planned for this by having Appletini hold a Chesto Berry, which cures sleep. With 2 Dragon Dances, 1 Grab Apple was easily able to take out Kamala. When the Dunsparce comes out, I decide on swapping in Gyarados so I can start setting up. But on the swap, Gyarados does get paralyzed from a glare, so I am put at a speed disadvantage. Also, why are they letting terrestrialization in a fucking restaurant just happen? At least it's not, Gigantamaxing. After taking a bit of damage, I set up 2 back-to-back Dragon Dances. Then I go for a full restore, healing the Gyarados and curing the paralysis. I do one last Dragon Dance to get in as much damage and speed as I can. Unfortunately, Gyarados is paralyzed yet again, which immediately fucks me over, making me miss my turn. This may have upset me a little bit and caused me to heal Gyarados again in spite of it, but like, that's fine. It's my playthrough. I can do as I please. On the next turn, I am able to get a KO with a boosted Aqua Tail though. When Staraptor comes out, I do get hit by an Intimidate, which does lower my attack by 1, but it was okay. Now, I did go for an Ice Fang, because I forgot Staraptor did lose its flying type when it terrestrialized. So I sadly didn't get the kill, but it was fine. Staraptor does get me low with a Facade. But I was faster, so next turn I was able to get an Aqua Tail in and just end the battle, getting me my normal badge. I did have to fight in a moment, like, right after, but I sweeped her game. Like, it should one-shot, yep, okay. It did one-shot Palma, oh. Alright, well, next place is the Ghost Gym. On the way, I did have an encounter, though, and I may have forgot to record the spin for it, but I can just tell you I got the total. Where's the total? It's actually a higher level than my Pokemon. It's nighttime? Dust Ball? The total! I'm sure anyone could tell what I wanted to name this. Todd. You're just Todd. You look so stupid. I love you. Oh my god. I now get to take on my favorite type of Pokemon, Ghost types. The gym challenge wasn't anything crazy, just a few double battles to quote-unquote warm up the crowd to get ready for the gym leader. It was now time to take on the gym leader, and I was feeling pretty good about this one after the last gym. To start, I had Todd target Mimikyu with an Ice Shard to break Mimikyu's disguise, and had Gyarados use Dragon Dance to start setting up. Todd did take quite a bit of damage from a Sucker Punch and a Slash, but Gyarados remained unharmed. Now, I really don't think I needed a Dragon Dance, because you got buffs throughout the battle, which was pretty funny to see though. I did swap out Todd for Appletini, since he was half health. I then also terrestrialized Gyarados as I went for another Dragon Dance. Thanks to both of these plays, Banette missed a Sucker Punch, and Mimikyu only did a very little amount of damage with a Slash. I honestly don't think I needed that second Dragon Dance, as I got another free stat boost and everything but speed. Gyarados easily takes down Banette with a Crunch, followed by Appletini taking out Mimikyu with a Crab Apple, even landing a crit. With the next turn, I get yet another boost, but this time to my Pokemon's attack and special attack stats. Bro is... Bro is busting it down. I like this gym. This is my favorite gym, honestly. Bro is busting it down with the speaker. Maggie just obliterates the toxicity after it terrestrializes. And Appletini is easily able to get a KO on the Houndstone. This gym was very easy, and it was a pretty nice break from things going poorly, but I wish the battle did last a little longer. But anyways, with that, I've got my next badge, the Ghost Gym badge. After this, we're going to Okay, so we're going here, ground. So I think Gyarados is literally just going to be the killer of this one too. No encounter since I got it earlier, so straight into fighting the Titan. Huzzah! The Great Tusk got a good chunk of damage in from a crit rapid spin as Maggie went in for a Dragon Dance. Same thing happens for the next two turns with the rapid spin and Dragon Dance, just back and forth. I heal up Gyarados as the Titan goes for yet another rapid spin. Surprisingly, on the next turn, the Titan goes for a Brick Break, which doesn't do a ton of damage since Gyarados is a flying type. I then am able to take it down to 1 HP and finish off the first phase with an Aqua Tail. Now it's time for the second phase, which was just as easy. Great Tusk hits a Brick Break on Arvin Scovillain just before it hits it with a scary face, lowering its speed. I have Gyarados go for a Dragon Dance on that same turn. I then went for a Terrestrialized boosted Aqua Tail, doing about half the Titan's health. The Skullvillain also gets in some damage with the super effective Razor Leaf, but not as much. Great Tusk then does get a Brick Break on Maggie, doing a bit more damage than last time, but still not a lot. With one more Aqua Tail, I take down the Titan, making this probably my fastest and easiest battle yet. I got my next Titan badge, and Crydon got yet another new ability. Yeah! Time for the next gym. But first, new
Here's the next
area,
problem.
new encounter. Wheel! Man, am I happy to spin this wheel. Psyduck it is, okay. Guess another water type. Sure. Fine with me. Psyduck! Oh yeah. Got Psyduck. Psyduck, you will be female. I don't actually have a name for you. Oh, we'll call you Psy. Yeah, Psy. Oh. Hmm. Alrighty, we have Golduck. We've now made it to the Psychic Gym. The gym challenge was pretty interesting. You basically just play Simon Says by you and your Pokemon reacting with the right emotion, which is weird. And you also did a couple battles in between, but yeah, we don't really care about those. Now, is this challenge like cool or anything? Not really, but it was interesting and different compared to the others. Anyways, let's get into the gym battle. This one went pretty good, for the most part. A rigor rough. Alrighty, we know the drill by now. I start out by having Gyarados use Dragon Dance. The Burgraph then hits me with the Zen Headbutt, but it doesn't do too much. This continues for like the next 3 turns as well. Except on the third turn, it does set up a Reflect, which makes the opponent's Pokemon take less damage from physical moves. There's the Reflect, I knew it. I can set up 4. I could even do 5 if I really wanted to. After getting in 4 Dragon Dances, I heal up Gyarados and take only a little bit of damage from another Zen Headbutt. Gyarados then takes down Farigiraf with a Crunch. Now the Gardevoir does manage to live a Crunch and get in a Psychic, but falls the very next turn. Was it just the Reflect? Actually, I think it was just the Reflect. Espathra also went down very easily to another Crunch. This gym was pretty much going to be a sweep. Not even the Florges stood a chance, instantly falling to a Crunch, which secures my victory, gaining me my Psychic badge. Okay, straight into the next gym. Okay. Where are we going next? Oh, it is the last gym. Okay. Okay, we are going to here next. I have finally made it to the final gym of the Nuzlocke, the Ice Gym. Now, it wasn't a pure sweep like the last gym, but it wasn't too challenging. The gym challenge was a bit fun though. I don't know if it was great for a final challenge, but it was okay. Basically, you just got to do like a little sledding race with Koraidon, and all you had to do was just beat the timer. So, fairly easy and a little bit of fun. However, the actual battle was a little tough at first, since it did cause me to white out my first attempt, but I managed to win on the very next one, so it was okay in difficulty. And now for the winning attempt. I started with Armorage, using Calm Mind to boost both special attack and special defense, while the opponent's Frostmoth sets up a Tailwind, making the opponent faster. I do take a Bug Buzz, but with the special defense boost, it doesn't do much as I get in another Calm Mind. And I even get a Quick Claw proc on the next Calm Mind before taking another Bug Buzz. Again, not doing much because of my special defense boost. The next turn, I do get put to like low HP, but I'm able to get in my 4th Calm Mind, and the Tailwind does manage to fade out. Though, when I do decide to go for the heal, Frostmoth does get in yet another Tailwind. With the new Tailwind, I decide on a couple more Calm Minds, hopefully maxing out my stats, and just sweeping through the rest of the gym. Now, I did break my rule once again by getting another heal, but I just didn't want to lose Armorage through this gym, and I knew Armorage could easily solo the entire gym. After stalling through the Tailwind, I do get off a Flame Charge. Barely manages to not get the kill, which allows it to set up yet another Tailwind. And with it, I decided I need to stall it out. Just using a bunch of Calm Minds, which don't do anything since I maxed out, and cheating even a little bit more by just healing up. Thankfully, once it was done, I am able to get in a boosted Flame Charge, which does secure the kill on the Frostmoth. Now, once the Bear Tick came in, I was easily able to take it down with a boosted Flamethrower. And even right after, I was able to take down Setatan with another flamethrower, putting me at the final Pokemon, Altaria. And Altaria didn't give me too much trouble as well. With another boosted flamethrower, I was able just to take it down in one hit, and with that, I beat Grusha, getting me my final gym badge of the challenge, the Ice Badge. And all that was left was the path for the Elite Four. At least not yet, as I have to do my next challenge, the Fairy Star Base. But just before that, I was able to find an Ice Stone, and I evolved Pod into a Setatan. Now, I just had to get one more encounter before I could do the Starbase. Well, let's do it. Who's our next member? Olive? Knucklestack. Oh, whoa, whoa, oh, 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 oh! Knucklestack! Found it! Knucklestack! Let's go! We do have to give you a name. Let's call you Nate. That's the first name that came up to my head. Since it was high level, all it took was just rare candy to evolve it, and I got Garganacl. And a new thing here. And now it was time for the Fairy Star Base. I took out the 30 Pokemon that I needed, and I got into fighting the boss. It was a bit more challenging than the last one. I did only white out once, but I lost a Pokemon during this. Well, let's get into what happened and how I won. I immediately have to terrestrialize Appletini in order to lose the Dragon typing. Because again, everything in the space is a Fairy type, and would absolutely obliterate Appletini. With that, I start setting up with the Dragon Dance while taking a good bit of damage from a Play Rough. However, with one boosted Crab Apple, I'm able to take out Azumarill the next turn. And now came Wigglytuff. I used the first turn to try and get in another Dragon Dance, boosting my stats, but I take quite a bit of damage from another Play Rough. I also forgot to mention, I did end up healing Appletini in the very next turn. Thankfully, all it took was another Grab Apple to secure the takedown. Unfortunately, though, the dash button does end up living one of my Grab Apples, leaving it at just 1 HP and getting in quite a bit of damage on Appletini. I am at least able to take it down on the very next turn. Since Appletini was so low, I decided to swap in Jorkanet, hoping it could maybe solo the rest of the Starmobile. Also on the swap, the Starmobile just ends up destroying the terrain it sets up by using a Steel Roller, so that was kind of funny. After taking some damage from a Magical Twerk, I do get in a good hit with the Flamethrower. But on the next turn, I do get hit with a Confused Ray, causing confusion, which can make me hit myself, but thankfully I did not, and I ended up landing another Flamethrower. On the next turn, however, I did end up taking another Magical Torque, but I also ended up hitting myself in confusion. Ah, bruh. Now I am able to live another magical torque, barely surviving, but I end up just taking myself out due to confusion and ultimately losing Jork in it. Okay, that's just bullshit. Whatever, fine, I lost you. But now Nate comes in, and he does get confused, but he is able to get in okay damage from a heavy slam. Next turn, I do end up taking another magical torque, but it's not really doing much. But then I also end up hitting myself again. A steel roller does end up doing a lot more damage, but it does end up lowering the Starmobile's speed, so maybe I can outspeed it later. And I am at least getting some good damage, whittling down the HP with some heavy slams. But unfortunately, I didn't outspeed on the next turn, and my confusion had just ended the previous turn, so I got hit by another Confuse Ray, which then caused me to hit myself yet again. Which then occurs on the next turn as well, where I get hit by Magical Twerk and I just hit myself in confusion. I was really starting to hate the Starmobile. Thankfully, Maggie is able to come in and get it to 1 HP with an Aqua Tail, and is then able to finish it off on the very next turn with a Crunch, which now gives me my second to last Starbase badge. I am inching ever closer to beating this game. This has taken a long time. Rain Shot. We've got 2 catches to do and 2 more things to do. Well, there's a bunch more things, but in time. Anyways, Armorage, goodbye. As you just heard me say, I do got another encounter to do. So before we head to the final star base, we're gonna get my next party member. Okay. We have a wheel for North Area 1, and we're gonna spin for North Area 2. So we'll get 2 caps. 2 captures. What are we getting? A Lucha. Okay. Oh, bam. Get slapped, idiot. Yo, I didn't know there were critical catches in this game. Whoops. That was not North Area 2. We're not getting Tinkatink. Whoops, 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 whoops. Uh-oh. Wrong one. This is North Area 2. We're still getting Halucha. It's not Tinkatink. Can't do Altaria. We already had Swablu this game. Cannot do Altaria. We had Swablu. Cannot do it. Okay, go. Okay. Go. I never had a Skiddo, right? Yeah, no, never got Skiddo. Fuck. The random Halucha just sprinting at me. Oh my. It was now time to take on the final star base. I defeated the 30 Pokemon I needed, and it was time for taking on the boss. But first, I obviously needed to white out a couple times before I could let, quote-unquote, myself win. Totally on purpose. With those losses out of the way, now we can get into how I beat it. I start with Maggie, and she takes a bit of damage from a Poison Jab while setting up a Dragon Dance. With the first dance, I now outspeed and set up another before taking another Poison Jab. Now I go for another Dragon Dance, hoping Maggie lives another Toxic Jab. And I was right. But if it did crit there, I would have just lost. After that, I heal up on the next turn and take another Poison Jab. But one Aqua Tail later, and I take down the Toxic Rope. Next up is Passimian, who is able to survive an Aqua Tail, which does let them put Maggie in the red with the Rock Tomb. Wasn't enough to kill the Passimian? What? But one more Aqua Tail does the job and secures the kill. When the Lucario came out, I was scared it would live in Aqua Tail, but thankfully it went down after just one Aqua Tail. Now the next big hurdle, Annihilate, who unfortunately does live through an Aqua Tail, taking out Maggie with the close combat in the process. Next, I had Appletini come in, hoping it could finish up Annihilate, but I overestimated Flapple, and it fainted after just one Ice Punch. I then threw Psy in, hoping maybe it could clean up the KO. But no, it also had to die instantly, but this time to a close combat. Thankfully though, when Nate comes out, he is able to survive a close combat. And with that, he gets off an Earthquake, taking out the Annihilate. No fucking way, dude. Is it really Garganacl? Is that who I have to swap to? Now came the Starmobile, and I ultimately decided I needed to sack Nate so I can get a free swap into Hawlucha and take no damage. Hawlucha starts by using Feather Dance, which lowers the Starmobile's attack by 2, which makes the spin out from it not do very much damage. I then set up Swords Dance so I can boost my own attack by 2. My Reverum does end up using Gear Shift, boosting its speed and attack, but it was negligible. And with that boost, I go for another Feather Dance to ensure it never does too much damage to me. And funnily enough, it also just ends up lowering its speed once again. I then swap between using Swords Dance and Feather Dance to keep boosting my stats and lowering theirs. After that, I then use Roost to heal up the very little damage it did do to me. No, healing moves are allowed for this, they were never banned. Finally, I Terrasilize. And with all the boosts and the Terra boost, I'm easily able to one-shot the Starmobile, giving me the win against the final Starbase and earning me my final badge. All I had to do was sacrifice Garganacl. No, I lost so many for no reason. And now, all that's left for this path is the leader of Team Star. But first, I gotta get my last 2 encounters just before we take on the final Titan. Alrighty then. It's time. First off, the Sokarat Trail behind Casseroy Lake will be our first pick. Can't be Honchkrow. It cannot, unfortunately, be Honchkrow, so it must be somebody else. Jolteon's not bad. Okay, okay. Oops. Jolteon, and then... Tatsugiri? What? That's crazy. What? Actually? I don't know if Tatsugiri is any good, but That's kind of cool. Let's go get him. Okay, well, I found my Tatsu. I want the pink one. So, let's actually change my Tatsugiri on the screen. I like the pink one. The pink one looks cool. There we go. Tatsugiri will indeed have a nickname. Let's just call you Giri. Oh, I need to name my Halucha and my Gogo. Call you like Howl. Like a wolf howl. And Gogo will be... We'll name you Gugu, because I remember a TV show with a woman, with an old lady named that. Your name is Gugu. I was literally just saying I probably need to make a sandwich for this, but we found him. We'll keep Tatsugiri in. There we go. Now I'll give Jolteon the lucky egg. And we can go from there. Let's call you Bolt. Like from the movie. God, I'm old. It was now time for the ultimate battle against the giant Dondozo and Tatsugiri combo, which will be the greatest challenge I've ever faced. And then Dondozo. Ah, and then I almost one-shot it. Yeah, all it took was like 2 thunders, and I was pretty much done with the first phase. But surely, phase 2, that will be a challenge, right? I really wish it was. I really do. Now, granted, this time I started out with Thunder Wave and took some damage from a Water Pulse, but Greedent used Tail Whip, lowering Dondozo's defense. After terrestrializing, a Thunder puts it at practically 1 hit from death. Now, I did take a Body Slam, but it meant basically nothing, as the next turn I was able to get in another Thunder, beating the Titan and getting my final Titan badge and unlocking Koraidon's final ability. Except, it wasn't over just yet. Now I have to take on the true final Titan, the Tatsugiri. Again, I start out with the Thunder Wave, but this time I take a good amount of damage from a Muddy Water. But Greedent does get in another Tail Whip against the Tatsu. I then decide to swap out Bolt for Giri, since I feared a crit could kill Bolt. With the swap, a Muddy Water does basically nothing, and Greedent gets off another Tail Whip. Now I terrestrialize Giri this time, in order to avoid any super effective moves to Dragon types. Thankfully, it's the water terrestrialization. Which was a good move, because after a nasty plot, the Titan used Icy Wind. Sadly though, with just one nasty plot boost, I was able to take down the Tatsugiri with a simple Dragon Pulse. A crit too? Fuck yeah, Tatsugiri. Holy. Oh my god, you're adorable too. Hold on. Look at you. camera? Why is it so zoomed in? Why is the camera so zoomed in? This is so stupid. I love this. I have to screenshot this. And now I finally have my win. I really wish this fight had lasted a lot longer, but nothing you can do about it. Anyways, now I get my badge and my new Koraidon ability, and all that's left for this path is Area 0. But first, we'll go into the Elite Four. Yes! I can really get around the map. Hell yeah. Dude, this is the dumbest fucking cutscene I've ever seen. Oh my god. That was fucking stupid. That was so dumb. I guess we do Elite Four, the champion, then we take on Clavel and Penny, and then we take on the professor. It took a good while to get here, but I finally made it. The final challenge for beating every gym. I must now take on the Elite Four and the champion of the Paldean region. Now, I was a bit worried that my team couldn't do it alone, so I tried a new idea of like bringing back Pokemon, but it was a bad idea, and ultimately I stopped doing it. Let's get into the first member of the Elite Four and how I beat him. First up is Rika, who I'd say is probably my favorite character in Scarlet and Violet. Gugu easily takes down Witchcash with a quad super effective Horn Leech. Rika's next Pokemon is Camera, which was able to survive an Earthquake and get a yawn off on Gugu. Yeah, I knew it, okay. Oh. Camera is able to go down the next turn to her Horn Leech just before Gugu falls asleep. With Gugu asleep, I decided to swap to Giri to take on the rest of the battle. They do take a poison jab on the swap, but it didn't do much. At least I didn't think it did much, but after going for a nasty plot, Giri ends up going down to an Earthquake. So I swapped in Todd, hoping it could beat the Dawn fan. An Ice Spinner gets it low, but thankfully it does miss the Stone Edge, so I'm able to take it down with one more Ice Spinner on the next turn, and I take no damage. Now Dugtrio comes out, and it's scary. First it sets up a Sandstorm, which causes me to miss an Ice Spinner, since it had the ability Sand Veil. The next turn, they go for a Rock Slide, which causes me to flinch, and since I was slower, Todd went down after just one more Rock Slide. That's so unlucky. I go into Gugu, who is still very much asleep. Thankfully, she doesn't take nearly as much damage from a Rock Slide or from the Sandstorm. I take another Rock Slide while hoping Gugu would wake up and hit a Horn Leech, but she just doesn't. Thankfully, the Sandstorm ended last turn, so I used a full Restore to cure the sleep and heal Gugu, while Dugtrio sets up another Sandstorm. With Gugu awake, all it takes is one more Horn Leech to take out the Dugtrio, and I can move on to her final Pokemon, Clodsire. One Horn Leech isn't enough to take it down, and it gets off a toxic poisoning Gugu. Unfortunately, it protects itself next turn, so I have to wait till the turn after in order to take it out. But with that, I had beaten my first Elite Four member. Real quick, since I have no more encounters and have a lot to do still, I'll be healing and reviving my Pokemon from here on out. Next up, we have Poppy of the Elite Four, who uses Steel types. I start with Hell using Feather Dance, lowering Copperage's attack while it gets off a pretty scary play rough. Yep. Hal goes for another Feather Dance, hoping it lowers the damage enough to survive play rough, but it goes for a Heavy Slam, doing basically nothing. I then use Roost to heal up all the damage Hal took, but a play rough puts him back to low. And because of that, I had to go for another Roost to heal up. Thankfully, Copperajah used Stealth Rock, so it didn't do any damage. Thank God, for Roost is amazing. I get off another Feather Dance, lowering Copperage's damage even more, and luckily it misses a play rough. Alright, now that its attack is as low as it can be, I start setting up Sword Stance to start boosting my attack, and using Roost when I need to. After maxing my attack stat, I Terastallize. With all the boosts, a Flying Press is able to take out Copperajah in one hit. Next up was Corviknight. But even with all the boosts, it lived at critical and takes out Hawlucha and itself with a Brave Bird. I did that thinking I was gonna one-shot. Fuck. I sent out Gugu against Magnezone. Magnezone lives in Earthquake thanks to its sturdy ability, which lets it set up a light screen, but it's useless against Gugu. So I take it out the next turn with the Horn Leech. With Bronzong out, I start setting up with Bulk Ups, which boost my attack and defense, and using Milk Drink to heal when I need to. Basically same strategy as Howl, but different moves. Once I've maxed my stats, I go for a Horn Leech, which despite not being very effective, takes out Bronzong in just a couple hits, and also heals up any damage Gugu did take. Poppy's final Pokemon is Tinkaton. Who does just go down after terastallizing to an Earthquake. With that, it means I've beaten my second member of the Elite Four. Next up, we have Larry, who yes, is a gym leader and a member of the Elite Four, just this time he uses flying types. Toad starts with an Ice Spinner that takes out Tropius in just one hit. Next up, Larry Staraptor, who does lower my attack with an Intimidate. Todd is able to survive at just 1 HP from a close combat, taking out the Staraptor with an Ice Spinner right after. Unfortunately, Todd's luck ran out, as Altaria outspeeds and kills with a Flamethrower. I then sent out Giddy, who gets off a Dragon Pulse taking out the Altaria. There we go. When the Oricorio did come out, it got off a Teeter Dance, confusing Giri, but I was still able to get off with Dragon Pulse, getting it to low HP. I swapped out Giddy for Bolt, and on the swap, Oricorio does try to go for a Revelation Dance. But since it's an electric move, it does nothing, since Bolt has the ability Volt Absorb. I then take out the Oricorio on the next turn with a Discharge. Larry's final Pokemon was Flamigo. And after we both Terrestrialize, Jolteon just one-shots it with a Boosted Thunder. All that's left is one more Elite Four member, and then I can face the champion. The final member of the Elite Four is Hazel, or Hazel, not sure how to pronounce it, but he uses dragon types. Noivern gets a Super Fang in while I go for a yawn with Kamala. I then go for a Sucker Punch so I can get in damage before she faints. But Kamala lives the Dragon Pulse, which I didn't want to happen. Damn! Thankfully, when Giddy swaps in, Noivern is still fast asleep. And Noivern stays asleep when I go for a Nasty Plot. Unfortunately, as I go for another Nasty Plot, it woke up, putting Giddy at just 1 HP with a Dragon Pulse. But after healing up Giddy, Noivern used Hyper Voice, not doing nearly as much damage. This time, after I Terrestrialized, the Dragon Pulse didn't kill, which allowed me to one-shot Noivern with my own Dragon Pulse. I was then able to outspeed and one-shot the Dragallage and Flapple right after. But then Haxorus outspeeds me and takes out Giddy with a Dragon Claw. Howl does swap in and get off a Flying Press, doing okay damage, but takes way more from a Dragon Claw. Malucha then missed the second Flying Press and went down to an Iron Head. Kamala was able to get off a Sucker Punch just before fainting. And now Google came in taking a Dragon Claw, but also put Haxorus at just 1 HP from an Earthquake. Just before Google faints, I used a Max Revive on Giddy. But I didn't swap into her just yet. Instead, I swapped into Bolt, who then takes out Haxorus with a Discharge. Hazel's final Pokemon was Baxcalibur, and after it Terrestrialized, I went for a Thunder Wave to keep the speed advantage, but then Bolt went down to a Glaive Rush. I was hoping for at least like something. Now it was all up to Giddy, and by some miracle, she one-shots Baxcalibur with a Dragon Pulse, beating the final member of the Elite Four. Tatsugiri! It was now time to take on the champion of the Paldean region, Gita. Bathra. I didn't actually check what moves you knew. Who I may have whited out against a couple times, but as they say, third time's the charm. I gotta pee, man. Gumi has returned yet again, and after taking a Lumina Crash, she gets off a yawn. Sadly, she faints after the next Lumina Crash, but Espathra does fall asleep right after. While Espathra was asleep, I threw in Hawlucha to get off a Sword Stance. Espathra does also get the boost with her Opportunist ability, but it's useless for her since she's a special attacker. Thankfully, when I get off another Sword Stance, Espathra is still fast asleep. I then Terrestrialized Howl. And with that, I used a Flying Press, which, despite not being very effective, does leave Espathra at 1 HP, and by some miracle, she was still asleep afterwards, which does let me take her down the next turn. Next up was Gita's Go-Go, which goes down to a single super effective Flying Press. Up next was King Gambit, which despite not being her ace, was still just as scary, because of its Supreme Overlord ability that makes it stronger for every fainted Pokemon. But thankfully with all my boosts and the Terra boost, I was easily able to take it down in one hit. Now I'm not so lucky with the Veluza however, as it lives a Flying Press and even manages to take out Howl with a crit Psycho Cut. Todd comes in and does take a liquidation, but secures a takedown on Veluza with the Body Slam. Her next Pokemon was Avalugg, who took very little damage from a Body Slam, and then even takes out Todd with a Heavy Slam. I do go for Go-Go, hoping an Earthquake might do some damage, but it did very little, and Gugu even ends up dying to an Avalanche. I threw in Bolt next, and after getting off a good discharge, it lives the Avalanche, which does allow me to take down Avalugg the very next turn. It was now time for Gita's ace, Lamora. And after it terrestrialized, I got off a Thunder Wave, giving it paralysis. And because of that, it lost its turn right after, meaning Bolt stays alive. Now, thinking these were Bolt's final moments, I revived Hawlucha, but Lamora lost yet another turn due to the paralysis. And with that, I'm able to get off a discharge doing a little bit of damage just before he faints to an Earth Power. When Howl comes in, it doesn't really do much with the Flying Press, and sadly, just faints to a Terra Blast. It was all up to Giddy once again, and she managed to pull through with it. She takes out Glamora with the Muddy Water and secures my victory against Gita, making me a champion of the Paldean region, and even one step closer to finishing the gym storyline. All that's left is to take on Nemona, but before that, I gotta finish off the Team Star storyline. For that, I gotta take on Director Clavo, because he's claiming to be the quote-unquote true leader of Team Star. Both Gumi and Oranguru go for a yawn at each other. On the next turn, just before I could get in a crunch, the Oranguru set up a Reflect, making the crunch not do much damage, and both Pokemon fell asleep right after. The next few turns were spent hoping Gumi would wake up before the Oranguru. Please wake up, Gumi. Please wake up. Please. Unfortunately, Oranguru woke up first, getting off a Dream Eater and doing quite a bit of damage and healing itself in the process. But Gumi also woke up and gets off a Super Fang as well. On the next turn, Oranguru does get off another Yawn, while Gumi was able to take it out with a Crunch. When the Abomasnow came in, it took Gumi out with the Wood Hammer before Gumi could get in a Super Fang. I sent in Todd, who used Bounce, allowing it to miss Abomasnow's first attack and do a lot of damage the following turn. But does get put to half by a Wood Hammer. Thankfully, thanks to the Rocky Helmet and the recoil from the Wood Hammer, Abomasnow goes down right after. Next was Clawville's Gyarados, who did lower my attack with an Intimidate, but it meant nothing as it took out Todd anyways with the Stone Edge. At least Bolt was able to come in afterwards and take out Gyarados with a quad super effective Thunder. Bolt then did okay damage to Poltergeist with a Discharge before getting hit by a Will-O-Wisp being burned. After getting Poltergeist fairly low with a Discharge, it does get paralyzed as well from it, just before it was able to hit a Shadow Ball on Bolt. I was then able to take down Poltergeist on the very next turn with another Discharge. Now, when Amoonguss came out, Bolt was able to get off another Discharge, landing another Lucky Paralysis just before fainting to a Hex. I then threw in Hawlucha, who did get Amoonguss low with the Flying Press just before getting hit by a Toxic. Thankfully, one more Flying Press takes out Amoonguss, and it was time to move on to Clawville's final Pokemon, Skeledirge. After a Terrestrialize, Hal was able to get in a little bit of damage with the Flying Press, but takes a lot more from a Shadow Ball. Unfortunately, Hawlucha missed the second Flying Press and went down to yet another Shadow Ball. Now, Gugu did come in and take a Torch Song, but she was able to get good damage off with an Earthquake. She then does faint the next turn to another Torch Song. At least Giddy was able to come in right after and take out Skeledirge with a Dragon Pulse, beating Clawville. There we go, I beat Clawville! Now, obviously, Clawville wasn't actually the leader of Team Star. That role actually belonged to Penny, the girl with the Eevee backpack, who I now have to battle. And to no one's surprise, she used only Eeveelutions. Umbreon used Baby Doll Eyes, lowering my Hulucha's attack just before it got off a flying press, which made it not do as much damage. As I get hit by another Baby Doll Eyes, I went for a Sword Stance, putting my attack back at neutral. I then got off another Sword Stance, boosting my attack before taking a Psychic. Now with the boost, I was able to take out Umbreon with one final Flying Press. When Penny's Jolteon came out, I then swapped into Gugu, who does avoid a Thunder on the swap-in. Jolteon then used Baby Doll Eyes, lowering my attack, which allowed it to survive an Earthquake. It then missed another Thunder as Gugu gets in a Bulk Up. Another Baby Doll Eyes gets used as I went for another Bulk Up. Thankfully, next turn, Jolteon used Thunder, so I was able to get another Bulk Up, no penalty. I then took another Thunder as I went for another Bulk Up. After taking yet another Thunder, I was able to take out Jolteon with an Earthquake. When Flareon comes out, I try to go for an Earthquake, but am outsped and went down to a Flare Blitz. I then swapped in Giddy and Terrastalize. Flareon did get off of Baby Doll Eyes, but it's useless against Giddy, who is a special attacker, and I then took out Flareon with a Muddy Water. Penny's Leafeon is a bit scary for Giddy though, so I swapped in Hulucha instead, who does take a nasty Leaf Blade. Howl is only able to get Leafeon to below half and barely survives another Leaf Blade. Unfortunately, a quick attack takes Hulucha out the next turn. Clock gets hit by Baby Doll Eyes, as it went for an Ice Spinner. Thankfully, it still takes out the Leafeon. Todd did take another Baby Doll Eyes from Vaporeon as it went for another Ice Spinner, which made it not do pretty much any damage. A Body Slam doesn't do much damage either, but Vaporeon does miss a Hydro Pump. After another Body Slam, Vaporeon does get off a Hydro Pump, doing about half a Todd's health. My next Body Slam does cause paralysis, and thankfully Vaporeon missed another Hydro Pump. I was able to get in at least one more Body Slam just before falling to one final Hydro Pump. And with that, Jolteon was at least able to come in and take out Vaporeon with a Discharge. Penny's final Pokemon was Sylveon, who I hit with a Thunder Wave after she Terrastalized. And Bolt was able to survive a boosted Moonblast right after. This then allowed me to get in a Discharge, which didn't do much, just before Bolt faints to another Moonblast. Giddy was in and was able to get good damage with a Muddy Water before taking a Moonblast. I live. Now, if Edie still had her dragon typing, she would have lost right there. But she lived and was able to take out Sylveon on the next turn with one final Muddy Water. I've now officially beat Penny and the Team Star storyline. Let's go. Penny done. Nimona and then the lab. That's it. Now we can move on to Nimona to finish up the gym storyline. I did unfortunately white out on the first attempt. Are you fucking kidding me? But the second attempt went way better. Utter shock. How all of a sudden is Lycanroc outspeeding me? Okay. Ah. Oh, holy shit, I won! Go goat the goat! Literally! And now I've made it to the final challenge of the game, which is also technically finishing the Titan storyline, making my way down Area 0 and taking on Professor Seda. Going down Area 0 basically just consists of having to walk down to each research lab and taking on different primal Pokemon protecting the area. And then finally making it to the final area where a robot of Professor Seda resides. Now, why is there a robot? Well, because apparently the real professor died a long time ago. But anyways, I gotta take on the robot as the final challenge in order to beat the game. Lucha started out and got off a good chunk of damage on Slitherwing from a flying press, just before taking a lot of damage from a Zen headbutt. Thankfully, all it takes is one more flying press to take out the Slitherwing. AI Seda then sent out Screamtail. With Screamtail out, I decided to swap in Gugu, who does take a play rough on the swap. Screamtail then lands a super effective Ice Punch on Gugu before I can get in a bulk up. Gugu did survive another Ice Punch and heals up with a Milk Drink. Unfortunately, the next Ice Punch does freeze Gugu, making me lose my turn. And because of this, I had to use a full restore, curing that freeze and healing Gugu, but I also had to take another Ice Punch. Thankfully, I can get in yet another bulk up after yet another Ice Punch. I then swapped between using bulk ups to boost my stats and then milk drinks to heal the damage I took. The ultimate strategy. After finally maxing out my stats, I did take a Zen Headbutt, but then I took out Screamtail with a Horn Leech and healed up all the damage I did take. Now Fluttermane was able to come in and hit Gugu with the Mystical Fire, but goes down right after to an Earthquake. Sandy Shocks did do some damage to the Flash Cannon, but again, with a Horn Leech, Gugu was able to take it down and also heal itself up. Dude, Goku's insane! The Brute Bonnet, however, survived at half health from a Horn Leech, and was able to take out Gugu with a payback. Todd was able to at least get an Ice Shard in, putting Brute Bonnet to at critical, and since I went first, Brute Bonnet also failed a Sucker Punch. Now, one more Ice Shard later, and Brute Bonnet was defeated. Now moving on to Seida's final Pokemon, Roaring Moon, they were able to take out Todd with a Stone Edge. At least when Bolt is able to come in, he's able to get off a Thunder Wave just before going down to an Earthquake. Now Hawlucha was able to get Roaring Moon very low with an Endeavor before she also went down. And now it was up to Giri once again, who was able to end it all after terrestrializing. She was able to get off a Dragon Pulse, taking out Roaring Moon and beating Professor Seida. Let's go! Everybody's dead, but let's go! Except, it's not the end just yet. AI Seida isn't done. As she then throws out Koraidon. And I'm unable to throw at any other Pokemon. So I then must send out my own Koraidon. Go Koraidon! And it's now Koraidon versus Koraidon. Sadist Koraidon used Tom, while I went for a Terra Blast that did almost nothing. I then took a Flamethrower as I got off a Collision Course. As I went for a Flamethrower this time, Sadist Koraidon then used Bulk Up. Then, on the next turn, I'm hit with a Giga Impact, leaving me at just 1 HP, as my Terra Blast did almost nothing yet again. Giga Impact? Why do I have Giga Impact? I used a Max Potion to heal my Koraidon as AI Sada's Koraidon needed to recharge after the Giga Impact. I then unlocked the ability to Terrasilize my Koraidon. After Terrasilizing, I got off a Terra Blast, putting Koraidon very low, as its Flamethrower does basically nothing to me. Now, with one more Terra Blast, I'm able to take out Koraidon, and finally beat the AI Professor Seda. And with Professor Seda beaten, I have now officially beaten my own Pokemon Scarlet Nuzlocke. This took a long while to do, and I have never been happier to accomplish something. Now, if you did manage to watch it all and get to this point, thank you for watching the video, as this project took, I want to say, well over a month to complete. It took literal weeks just to beat the Nuzlocke, and then it took even more time to edit this entire video. I turned well over 30 hours of footage into this 2 hours and about 30-minute video. I had a lot of fun with this, and I hope I can maybe do some more Pokemon content again in the future. Just not anytime soon. Anyways, again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you can enjoy maybe some of my other content that I've uploaded, and maybe will be uploading in the future. Alrighty, all I have left to say is goodbye. And also, I'm gonna let the credits roll and finish up this video. But also, hopefully, the next one won't be as long, and it won't take me as long to get it out. I do have some new series and stuff I want to do, with some new games I'm gonna get, so hopefully those will do good.